What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy Adam Perez, man. I'm back once again with another review for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. A little bit late to the party this week, unfortunately, as we're going to be diving into episodes 6 through 8. Your boy's still a little bit under the weather. I mean, I tell you, especially with having a little kid around here, once a sickness kind of goes around, it feels like it stays around forever, man. I feel like I have been out of commission or battling something for like the last 3 to 4 weeks, honestly. So, gonna do my best to try and drop this for you guys. I know that the last 2 episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man are currently already available. I'm gonna go ahead and try and watch those sometime here before the weekend and see if I can't go ahead and get my last final thoughts on this series as a whole for you guys sometime this weekend. So certainly stay tuned to that. Now, look, about a week or so since I've watched episodes 6 through 8. So bear with me as I share some of my thoughts. And look, if there's any details in particular that I might have missed that you guys want to further go ahead and talk about, go ahead and throw your comments in the comment section box below, and we'll definitely continue that discussion. I continue to enjoy the way that this series has been released. I think the idea of dropping them in batches makes this season feel very much like chapters, and each set of episodes, I think, does a really good job of telling a story that really fits the narrative of why those episodes were kind of put together. And I feel like the level of intensity and storytelling for this show continues to improve with each new brand of episodes that we have. Particularly for me, I think episode 7 floored me. I thought episode 7 was such a really great episode of television for animation, whether that be the exploration of Nico and Harry's relationship, the friendships and the bonds and the connection between those two, after, butting heads or whatever the case may be, to just seeing how far Marvel animation is not afraid to push it in regards to the level of violence, blood, how dark they certainly want to get with this series, if you will, and not afraid to really push the boundaries a little bit. So really not playing it safe. So I was really impressed with a lot of what we wind up seeing in these 3 particular episodes. I mean, I got to talk about just the action in general. The Scorpion stuff was remarkable. Getting an opportunity to see Gargan working alongside Doc Ock, him getting him the Scorpion tail and the technology to go ahead and take out the gang in that episode, I thought was incredible to watch. And just perfect timing from the Pearl stuff coming to Lonnie's aid to try and talk him from out of being out of the gang, to Spider-Man or Scorpion crashing the party, to Spider-Man showing up to certainly save everybody, the false confidence that he certainly had, get an opportunity to see Norman Osborn get distracted, sort of thing, while Peter is stuck trying to fight Scorpion all by himself, and unfortunately getting skewered through the back into his shoulder, sort of thing. I mean, everything that I could ask for in an episode was in this episode, and it really worked for me when it comes to episode number 7. So the action, yeah, continues to be extremely dynamic, whether that be Scorpion versus Spider-Man, or even seeing him face off against Daredevil in episode number 6, which I thought was really cool. The opportunity to see another particular vigilante out there, him giving him a little bit more insight in regards to the potential of not being able to trust Norman Osborn, that he's certainly up to something. And I gotta say, I continue to really enjoy the Norman Osborn story, right? One of the questions I have is, one of the reasons why I enjoy him is I do like the mentorship role that he's taken, but when it comes to somebody like Norman Osborn, you know you can't trust this man. At what point in time is he going to show his true colors? And his true colors are beginning to show, whether that be his intentions of using Spider-Man to help Thaddeus Ross with the Sokovia Accords, and you know, uh, putting his name out there to help him bring in vigilantes or people that don't want to necessarily follow the Accords. That's not necessarily what Spider-Man signed up for, right? But Norman Osborn, now investing all this time, has a feeling of ownership over Spider-Man, that he can do what he wants to, like it's his brand new toy sort of thing. So, I will appreciate Norman for not blowing Peter's cover and revealing his true identity to Thaddeus Ross, but clearly his intentions of keeping Spider-Man on the payroll, and having a sense of, I don't want to say you owe me, but an obligation that Spider-Man has to him now for all the money that he's kind of put towards him. So I found it interesting, especially calling him up in the middle of the night to say, "Hey, I need you to go check out Oscorp, right? Make sure nothing's being hacked. I got somebody broke in, sort of thing." Putting them on these missions that I don't think Peter is certainly not necessarily ready for, but didn't ask for. And so now it definitely feels as though Norman is certainly using him, especially when Peter helps him find Doc Ock. He winds up having this fixation on trying to bring Doctor Octopus down. And unfortunately, when it comes to something like Episode 7, just completely disregarding or not paying attention to the idea that Peter is in desperate need and needs him until it's a little bit too late. And I absolutely love the reveal of the glider in that episode, also, right? N- Seeing that while he's not necessarily the Green Goblin, um, the technology to build that stuff is certainly there. I mean, who knows? Maybe there is maybe he does have a costume of his own that is yet to be revealed. But the glider alone is certainly an ominous sign, and one that winds up saving Peter's life in this series. So, look, man, I continue to keep my eyes on Norman Osborn to see how this certainly all unfolds. But it definitely seems as though Norman's going to be asking a lot more of Peter going forward, and it definitely has my attention, to say the least. But what else really stood out to me in here? The Pearl and Lonnie stuff really hit close to home. I continue to be upset with Lonnie for continuing to go further and further down this path. One of the things that I said prior was, there's something off. I don't want to say off about Lonnie, but there seems to be at times that he's trying to prove something to other people, um, to have them accept him, if you will, going out of his way to pay for everybody's lunches, even though he may not necessarily have the money, sort of thing. There is a sense of like a guy who is lonely or trying to be something that maybe he's not necessarily, in order to impress sort of other people. And I think that kind of comes to shine in episode 5 a little bit when he does get kicked off the team. There's this sense of not taking any accountability for your actions, right? I mean, the coach clearly is upset that he's got to say goodbye and he wants to shake his hand, and Lonnie doesn't even shake his hand, right? Like there's a sense of disrespect. I think even when Pearl says something to him about being kicked off the team, and he just kind of shrugs it off, almost in the sense that like it wasn't his fault, or it was out of his hands, or there was nothing that he could do about it, sort of mentality. He's definitely falling down that path of just not giving an F anymore, or reading the room wrong, and having a lot of lack of accountability for his own actions. I don't know if that's the idea of him falling into the group more and more, and not trusting the people around him any longer. but it was really troubling to see, unfortunately, and the way that he winds up treating Pearl and pushing her away, sort of thing. It was really hard to watch, especially having to see Pearl be as heartbroken as she was. But I will say it is pretty cool to be able to see Pearl and Peter conversing. You never want to be the one to pick up the broken pieces of somebody's relationship, but he clearly cares for Pearl. But I appreciate the idea that even when Lonnie comes to the house and him and Pearl have that argument and she goes back inside crying, I was expecting Peter to be there to kind of pick up the pieces, right? And, I give her a shoulder to kind of cry on. But I appreciate Peter going out of his way to have heard the conversation and still doing what he can to try and stop Lonnie from joining the gang. But it is another failure, unfortunately, for Peter. That brings into question a really interesting, going back to Norman here, a really interesting conversation that they have where we're so used to Ben Parker or, most recently in No Way Home, May Parker giving the fantastic quote that has followed Spider-Man his whole entire life of with great power comes great responsibility. But now you've got somebody like Norman flipping that on its head in the sense of with great power comes great respect. And the reason why you fail is because of the fact that you're not powerful enough or that you're not earning the respect of the people around you enough, sort of thing. Really putting the blame and the onus for Peter's failures on himself and that he's got to get better about it. And so he's really pushing Peter to unleash his power. Take the gloves off, right? If the enemies are out there kicking your ass, what are you gonna do? You're gonna give them a lollipop, sort of thing. You're gonna make some puns here or there and hope that you'll win the day. No, kick their ass, right? He's really trying to tell them, you shouldn't have anything that holds you back, which worries me in the sense of, is this gonna push Peter to a more violent side, or will there be elements of him that continue to stay good and maybe not necessarily take that advice that Norman gives him? That, while Norman certainly believes with great power comes um, great respect, that maybe Peter realizes that he's still fighting for the little guy and the little guy can't become the bad guy. I'm hoping that Peter has that type of good head on his shoulders, but we'll definitely have to see. But I continue to really enjoy the supporting characters in here. The Nico and Harry stuff really continue to win me over. I love the fact that this show is not afraid to deal with the idea of insecurities that people have, the idea of losing friendships, not having friends, having to learn how to build friends and find commonalities between people and grow stronger bonds. I think this show's done a really good job of showcasing Harry and Nico both at odds, both not understanding each other. But if you give each other enough time and you peel back the layers, you can find a lot of things that are certainly in common with the two of you, to the point to where it seems as though maybe there's a bond growing there, maybe a friendship, maybe a little bit more. Who knows? I mean, she does definitely looks at him as a pretty boy. Maybe she doesn't view him as arrogant or as arrogant as he certainly once was. But there's progress there, and I can't remember if in episode 8 if Nico and Peter have spoken yet, but I am hoping that Nico certainly does come around to understanding the idea of why Peter has had to keep things in secret from her. I believe he wound up leaving a message for her last time that I wind up watching it. So hopefully these two will come to terms with each other. And I will say too, we did get a tease of Nico's abilities popping up in here and actually working when she's in the process of doing some speed racing also. I don't know if that helped her reflexes out or what, But we do see her from time to time talking to her pendant. So I wonder, does she have a secret of her own? Does she have powers that she's fully aware of and hasn't spoken to anybody about? Or is this certainly the beginning of those powers or her pendant or whatever gives her powers sort of manifesting for the very first time? But I really enjoy this show, man. I think this show is doing incredible things. I'm really fascinated to see more of Doc Ock. I thought it was really cool that we got ourselves not only more stuff about the Sokovian Accords, but we also got ourselves an Iron Man cameo in here. Clearly, they called in the big guns to go ahead and bring in Dr. Octopus, which was kind of cool. Even though he didn't have the arms on yet, you can clearly see the arms are at least built and working as part of his security system in here, as Thaddeus Ross tries to bring him in and even calls Iron Man in. So I thought that was a really neat cameo that we wind up having in here. Because at the end of the day, I honestly, when I think of the last two episodes, the way that they've been building up this show, it feels like Doc Ock was going to be sort of the main villain in regards to who he has to take down. Maybe it's still Scorpion. I have no idea, but I am really excited to get into the last two episodes here, as Spider-Man is officially going to have his classic Spider-Man costume, which was teased at the end of episode number 8 here. So I'm really eager to see what they do with the last two episodes. I continue to be more and more impressed with each particular episode, and I'm loving the momentum that they've carried into the final two. So look, guys, these are my reviews for episodes 6 through 8, and hopefully I'll have episodes 9 and 10 review for you guys up here before our weekend's episode of APlus Hero Report, so we can talk a little bit more about it. But look, at the end of the day, these are just simply my APlus opinions. I want to know yours. Again, if I miss anything, talk about it in the comments, guys. Let's go ahead and discuss this series. And until next time, do me a big favor, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it APlus. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.